Look who's back! Surprise, surprise! I am back from the dead. Not literally back from the dead. I'm just back from a 2 to 3 month pause from YouTube as I traveled from state to state, traveled to Bulgaria to visit families, friends, to go to the sea, to have a little bit fun in the summer, and all that kind of stuff that I did, also including the workouts, the school, the work, the homeworks, and every single stuff that I did during the summer, which was yeah, which was stopping me from making more frequent content on YouTube. So I apologize for that. I know I made a promise, and I know that I had to keep a promise, but again, I'm sorry about not keeping the promise. I hope you forgive me for that. But anyways, we're back with more content on YouTube, and if is it gonna be frequent content now? I don't know. I mean, I it looks like I even can't keep a promise, so I don't know if I'm gonna make more frequent content on YouTube. So we'll just see about this. But anyways, also from ignore this strange haircut that I got yesterday, as it was very hot as I came here in Germany, and I just wanted to cool off on this hot summer, which is not good at all, including this year, which is wow, about 36 degrees. Huh? This is unnatural, really. So again, ignore my haircut, but anyways, like I'm Emil5 from the future, and I wanted to tell you that this video was recorded about a month ago, but unfortunately I couldn't upload it then since you most likely know why, and another reason why is because of the long editing, the music in the background, the different sequences here and there, and etc. It was really difficult to really upload it back then when I was too busy and when the editing was long, like really long. But anyways, keep watching. Said, I am back with more content on YouTube. Yes, finally. I know you have been all waiting for this moment until now, so please forgive me for not keeping my promise about more frequent content on YouTube. Alright, so let's just cool it off. Stop with all these hate comments. I know you're hating that I did not keep my promise earlier, but I'm back now. And yes, unfortunately, it's more creepypasta reading. And before you start hating again, please let me explain. So, you might be wondering why I started doing more creepypasta readings than not. So, you may have already noticed that I already changed my name from this long ass name to literally ML5. So, I decided to make other content rather than just gaming 24/7 like Minecraft or Slender or whatever you guys can come up with. But yeah, that's partly a reason why I do more creepypasta readings. And the reason number two is the problem that I don't know what to record. For example, I have cluster like that I just recorded about 2 months earlier, and unfortunately, I am still editing this video, so sorry about that. I also am editing a sneak peek on the video that I did and that I showed, excuse me, on Instagram. If you hadn't noticed, then here's a picture right here of the sneak peek on the video. Unfortunately, since the video is about 26 minutes long, it takes me a whole lot of time to actually edit this whole video out. And you guys have no idea how much this stresses me out, including all the work that I do, all the things that my parents keep making me do, which sucks, man. It sucks. So that's why I decided to make all the content on not keeping you bored. But anyways, as I was saying, I have no idea what to record. And yes, I did record on Custom Truck, but I haven't edited this video out since it's about 20 minutes long, which it's kind of a long editing. But if you guys at least know an editor that can help me, then please let me know in the comments below, because this is some serious job. This is no joke, literally. Like you guys have to believe me. But anyways, from keeping you away from the boredom during this year, during the summer, probably quarantined, isolated from your friends, from going out somewhere or whatever, I decided to make other content, which is Creepypasta reading. And that's probably helped me on my English, as you can see right now, because it helped me understand and master my vocabulary, learn new words, and that sort of stuff. So, yeah, it kind of helped, and I'm sorry, it kind of helped me with my English vocabulary. So, I guess that's probably a reason why I'm doing this, but I don't know. But anyways, enough with the chit chat, and without further ado, let's get into this creepypasta reading today. It's a boring job, but it's pretty easy and it pays alright. A few weeks ago, this new guy started. I'll call him Jeremy. Jeremy is weird. He's about 25 or 26, and he hardly speaks, but he's got the creepiest laugh I've ever heard. My boss and I have both noticed this, but it's never been a problem, so there's not much we can do about it. Customers have never complained about him, and he's always done his job fairly well. Up until a few weeks ago, anyway. That's when things started going missing. Employee theft can be a problem at any business that sells consumer goods, and there's only one person working at a time at this gas station, since it's a pretty small place. About 2 weeks ago, my boss started noticing that we were short on motor oil. At first, it was a few containers at a time, that entire shelves and boxes from the back room. Pretty soon, entire shipments would be gone the day after we got them, and it would always be right after Jeremy's shifts. My boss has checked the security camera tapes from every single night he worked, but he could never catch him in the act. Jeremy would lock up at closing, then the motor oil would be gone the next day. My boss usually takes the tapes home with him to try and catch Jeremy stealing, but his daughter had a softball game last night, so he asked me to watch the tape for him. He offered to pay me overtime under the table, so I obviously took that offer. There are 3 cameras, so he gave me 3 different tapes to check. I figured it would be a long night, but I'm trying to save up for vacation, so I really needed some money. I took the tapes home, popped them in an old VCR, and sat back. 2 days ago, at the last time he worked, James started at 4 p.m. Everything seemed pretty normal at first. He counted up his drawer, switched off with the girl who was walking before him, and waited for a customer. The first person who came in was Mrs. Templeton. The timestamp on the video read 4:03. A regular. She picked up her cigarettes and a newspaper and paid with a 20. Nothing unusual there. The next customer was some local guy named Ron. He drives a motorcycle, usually comes in every few days. He filled up his tank, got a bag of beef jerky, paid with his credit card, and then left. Next was some guy with a cowboy hat. I'd never seen him before, but we get plenty of strangers passing through, just like at any gas station. He got $40 worth of diesel fuel, paid with a $100 bill, and went on his way. I sat back and sighed. The only thing more boring than doing this job is watching someone else do it. My boss's offer was enough to keep me watching though, so I left the tape on. Everything seemed pretty normal. I had a feeling that if Jeremy was stealing motor oil, he knew we were suspicious of him by now. I didn't expect him to be dumb enough to let us catch him on camera. Things stayed boring and routine until about 5 o'clock. At 5:03, Mrs. Templeton came back in. She must have forgotten something, but she didn't. She bought the same pack of cigarettes as before and the same newspaper. She paid with another 20. That's odd, I thought, but then again, she's a little absent-minded. I thought Jeremy should have told her she already got her smokes, but it's not against rules to sell somebody the same thing twice. That's when Ron came in again. He bought another tank of gas for his motorcycle again. I later checked the outdoor camera because I thought maybe he had another car he wanted to fill up, and the same bag of beef jerky. He paid with his credit card again. No big deal, I figured this was just a weird coincidence. Mrs. Templeton is forgetful, and Ron probably owns more than one Harley. That's when the guy in the cowboy hat came back in. I felt a chill run down my spine. Don't get diesel. I found myself whispering to my empty living room. But he did. He got $40 worth of diesel fuel and paid with another $100 bill. Every move he made was identical to his first visit, right down to the way he scratched his nose before he walked out. Either this guy is rich, owns a lot of trucks, and just moved into town, or something really bizarre was happening. I kept watching. Every customer for the next hour was the same as before. Every single one. I was seriously freaked out. And then at 6:03, Mrs. Templeton walked back in. She bought her cigarettes and newspaper again and paid with a 20 again. I thought I was going to lose it. I only watched another half hour before I started fast forwarding the rest. It was all the same. Every customer would come in at the exact same times, exactly 1 hour apart. Now, I know what you're thinking. That sneaky motherfucker Jeremy had messed with the tapes. He had run a loop of his first hour of business over and over. However, that wasn't the case. There are windows around the cash register area that camera covers, and I watched the sunlight fade as time went on. Jeremy's routine didn't look over. Swept, mopped, restocked, and did all his duties exactly how you would expect. But the same customers kept coming in. I was panicking at this point. Something was seriously wrong with what I was seeing, and I had no explanation for it. I skipped ahead to when he locked up and walked out to his car. He hadn't stolen anything, but he kept watching just to make sure. I fast forwarded one last time to about midnight. At exactly 12:03, out of nowhere, Jeremy's face pops up on camera. I don't mean he moved his head into view, I mean that 1 second the store was empty, the next second his face was all I could see. He wasn't looking at the camera, he was looking at me. I was sure of it. I screamed and fumbled for the remote. By the time I grabbed it, he was gone, just as soon as he had left. One frame he was there, the next he wasn't. My hands were shaking like crazy, but I popped in another tape. The other indoor camera shows the back area by the cash register, and I wouldn't be able to see how he got up to put his face in the camera like that. I skipped ahead to 12:03, but there was nothing. I would have been able to see him standing on a chair or something on this tape, but he wasn't there. I didn't see him enter the store at all after he left. It's like he wasn't really there. He doesn't know the security code, and no alarms were triggered the night after he locked up. What I did see, however, was that at 12:03, the motor oil vanished off the shelf. All of it. Same as Jeremy's face. 1 second it was there, and the next it wasn't. I turned the tape off and went to bed, but I didn't get a wink of sleep. My body is exhausted right now, but my mind is racing. That tape was undoubtedly the creepiest, most disturbing thing I've ever seen in my life. I woke in a few hours. My boss asked me to bring the tape back in and let him know what I found, but really, what the hell am I going to say? Jeremy works the night shift tonight, directly after me, and the plan is for my boss to come in just before I leave and confront him with me, as I'm supposed to be the one who caught him stealing. I have no idea what I'm going to do. I suppose I'll have to show my boss the tapes, but I don't want to watch him with him. I never want to see something like that again. I can't get that image of Jeremy just smiling directly into the camera out of my mind. It was the creepiest look I've ever seen on another human being's face. Anyway, I'm gonna try again to get some last minute sleep before I have to go and deal with this. I'll let you guys know what happens. Update 2:49 p.m. Updating for my phone. Apologies in advance for errors. My boss just finished watching the last of the tapes. I told him what to expect, but you really can't prepare someone for something like that. He's scared shitless. I still am too. And Jeremy is due to come in at 4. We've got a little over an hour to get our shit together, but neither of us knows what to say to him. Is he just a fucked up guy who likes to steal motor oil and scare the shit out of people? Or is he something else? I don't know if this is crazy, but does anyone think he could have anything to do with the time loop? My boss said he never noticed anything like that in the other tapes, but the way he popped up in this one made me think he knew I would be watching. It's like he wanted me to see what he could do, like he was showing off or something. The way he smiled into the camera was like a little kid showing you a sandcastle they just built or something. I don't know, I probably sound crazy. I sure feel apart. I'm going to talk to my boss some more. We have to calm ourselves down and figure out how to handle this. I'll update again tonight, but I have a really bad feeling about how this is going to play out. Update 4:33 p.m. No sign of Jeremy. Tried calling him, but his phone has been disconnected. We're calling the police. Update 5:33 p.m. No sign of Jeremy. Tried calling him, but his phone has been disconnected. We're calling the police. Update 6:33 p.m. No sign of Jeremy. Tried calling him, but his phone has been disconnected. We're calling the police. Update 7:33 p.m. No sign of Jeremy. Tried calling him, but his phone has been disconnected. We're calling the police. Update 8:33 p.m. No sign of Jeremy. Tried calling him, but his phone has been disconnected. We're calling the police. Update 10:58 p.m. Holy shit. Holy shit. Holy shit. Holy shit. I just got home and saw my previous updates. Things make less sense now than ever. Here's what I can tell you. I went to work. Jeremy never showed up. My boss and I decided to call the police, as you are well aware. When I picked up the phone to call, though, the sun went out. I shit you not. That's what I thought happened. Apparently, I blacked out for exactly 5 hours because when I looked at the clock, it was 9:33. I think I got stuck in Jeremy's time loop, and then I snapped out of it at the exact point I blacked out. If that makes sense. But that's when things got really weird. My boss was right next to me when I blacked out, ready to corroborate my story to the cops. When I came to it, the phone was in my hand, but it was dead. Not even a dial tone. My boss was still right there, but he wasn't moving. He was standing up, but frozen. I looked at the clock again, and it wasn't moving. The second hand was stuck on the 12. It was 9:33 exactly. The clock on the register computer screen wasn't moving either. My phone was frozen. There was even a customer at the register waiting for my boss to get him cigarettes. I'm betting that would have been his 5th pack of the day. I got the fuck out of there, didn't lock up, didn't turn the lights out, and sorry guys, I didn't grab the security tapes to upload on the internet. Believe me, that was the last thing on my mind. The gas station is on a major highway and cars were parked all along it, except they weren't parked, they were frozen. The people inside were sitting still as wax statues. I got in my car and prayed that it would start. Thankfully it did. About halfway home, the time started up again. The static from the radio turned into music like it's supposed to be. And from what I could tell by listening to the host talk in between songs, no one noticed the time freeze or whatever it was. I was the only one. Well, I'm sure Jimmy noticed it as well. I still have no clue where he is or what he's doing. I'm hiding in my room and calling the police again in the morning. I don't know if I ever got through to them before, or if I did, whether they took me seriously. I'm scared for my life at this point. I'll update tomorrow if I can. Final update, 10:33 a.m. I finally fell asleep last night around 4. I have no idea how I did it. I guess exhaustion finally got the best of me. This morning I woke up to my phone ringing. It was my boss. He'd been calling me since about 6. He woke up when time turned back on last night and immediately called the cops. They came by to see what was wrong and told me everything. The police around here are all small-time guys. They were concerned with the missing motor oil than anything, but my boss figured he would take it, as long as he had their attention. They decided to go looking for Jeremy. We keep all our employees' applications on file, and since Jeremy just started working here, his was easy to find. They checked the address on it and headed over to his house. You're not gonna believe what they found. The, the address Jeremy listed on his application was an empty lot, or at least nowadays. There used to be a house there, but it burned down in 1993. Being a small house, almost everyone remembers that fire. A family of 4 used to live there way back when. Rumor has it that they had an estranged son who they never really talked about, but I can't say for sure if that's true. What I can say is true is that after an insurance investigation, the fire was ruled an arson. The entire house was soaked in oil and torched with a Molotov cocktail. The entire family was sleeping when it happened. None of them survived. They never caught the guy who did it. Rumor has it that when they tried to contact the estranged son, no one could find him. Anyway, my boss called and told me this, and I freaked out. Then he asked me to come to the gas station. What are you, crazy? I said, but he assured me that the cops were there with him. Then he dropped a bomb. The FBI were also in town and they were going to talk to me in one way or another, so I might as well come in. It was about 7:15 and I wanted to go back to bed, but I figured I wouldn't be able to sleep much more anyway, so I went down. 4 men in suits greeted me and told me to have a seat. We went over everything 2 or 3 times until they got all the details down. I told them about Jeremy, the security tape, last night at work. Everything. Finally, after I finished, one of the agents said, "Oh Christ, we've got another one on our hands." Then they made me sign a bunch of papers saying I wouldn't tell anyone about what happened, so I can't say much more. I might be breaking the law just by posting this. So now I'm home. I'm not sure what to do with myself. That agent's words when I told him the story are going to haunt me for the rest of my life. Anyway, I've gotta go. I have some errands to run today, and then I have to go into work to pick up some tapes. My boss and I think this new guy Jeremy, he's a complete creep. He's stealing motor oil, and I have to watch the security footage to see if I can catch him doing it. I have better things to do, but my boss is paying me overtime under the table, and I'm trying to save up for vacation so I can really use the money. It should be pretty simple. The oil always goes missing right after shift. I figure I'll just watch the tapes, catch him in the act, and that will be it. Alright guys, so I'm gonna decide to read another creepypasta just to make this video a bit more interesting than not for you guys. So without further ado, here's the second creepypasta reading. The picture you're staring at was taken sometime in the 70s. It's the only remaining image I left of my son.
and the artificial being known as Antran, whom we adopted into our family at the time. It was a warm summer back in the mid-70s. I was driving home from my logging company after a long shift when I had to make a stop at a local garbage chip to drop off some old discs my mother had given us. Something caught the corner of my eye as I bent down, and upon closer inspection was shocked to see what I originally thought was a doll. A plastic outer shell with metal limbs, and more shockingly, a humanoid face with cold, dark eyes. I'll be honest to say, I was curious at the time and incredibly impressed with the workmanship, so I didn't think twice before placing it carefully along the back seat of my car and took it home. My son's interest was almost as intense as mine, and we bonded over the course of a few days, opening it up, looking at its circuitry, and seeing if anything had been misplaced or broken. Eventually, to our surprise, the being or android seemed to come to life. Its eyes displayed a somewhat sentient tint to them. Its limbs turned, its hands gripped, and after a few moments, it vanished to stand on its own accord. Needless to say, we were scared, yet fascinated. Who could have created such a wonderful and remarkable piece of work? I thought to myself. It wasn't until a few weeks later that I realized this wasn't a toy or a doll. It showed incredible signs of intelligence and thinking ability. It learned to do everyday things, such as taking the trash out and playing with my son's toys. He even had a favorite, a small red car that he'd drive alongside the kitchen counters. It learned to mimic our ways, try to eat from a fork despite having no digestive system moving its mouth, despite lacking the ability to speak. I knew this was something else. Perhaps a military piece of hardware or a private project. I knew I should have handed him in, but when I watched my boy play with it so happily, his face lit up. I couldn't do it. He's always been so lonely. This was one of his only friends. What kind of father would I be to deny him the right of happiness? It couldn't hurt to allow him to keep it for a while. We named him Antron, which is the printed capitals written in small font across his back. A few months passed quickly and family life seems to be improving. He was one of us. My lad's grades improved, his mood improved, everything was getting better. Until one evening in July. I was sitting in my armchair with a beer watching television. My boy and Antran had knelt down on the rug, fighting with one another, as boys do. When suddenly my attention was drawn to a loud gasp, I looked down and saw my child gripping his arm. "What's wrong, Adam?" I asked. He rolled up his sleeve and on his arm was a large red mark covering his forearm. "Antran pinched me," he replied in a shaky voice. The mark was indeed red. It would soon bruise into a swollen purple lump. My fatherly instinct took over me, and like a parent tearing off a naughty child, I shouted at the android. Its cold, metallic face for a moment seemed to show genuine sadness and sorrow, as though it didn't know its own strength, as though it was sorry. Its lips moved. Whether it was trying to muster up the words to apologize through language or merely copying what I was doing, we will never know. Later on in the evening, I apologized for the shouting, told it everything was okay, and thought nothing of it. A few weeks later, my child came into my room. It must have been early morning. My slumber was interrupted by the gentle creaking of my bedroom door. "Dad?" he whispered. "Yes, son," I replied. "It keeps looking at me." "What? What does?" I asked him through tired eyes. "Antran. He keeps looking at me, at the end of my bed." His voice trembled, fearful. I could tell something wasn't right. I noticed him rubbing his other arm and immediately called him over. Pulling up his sleeve, my heart sank. More bruises. Must have been 4, 5, all the way up his small arms. Take off your shirt, Adam, I asked, trying to keep calm. I could feel a cocktail of emotions rising within me. Panic, fear, anger. He took off his shirt. As the waist pulled over his small head, my heart sunk further and my eyes rolled up. Before me, my son stood. His small frame coated in bruises, different sizes, different shades of browns and purples. Immediately, I got up and stormed to Adam's room. Nothing. I shouted at the top of my lungs for the being looking under the bed, out a closed bedroom window. Nothing. Suddenly, a loud knock from above us, and then hard footsteps. It's in the loft, I whispered, my eyes to the heavens. As I paced down the corridor, I noticed the walls on either side of me were coated in scratches all the way up into the now swinging piece of string that leads to the small loft door. Slowly, I pulled it open, telling my scared son to stay where he was. The ladder fell down, and I climbed up. Taking a hold of the torch we left on the side of the opening, I tied it on, only to find a small window way half in there to be smashed. It had escaped. Immediately, I considered calling the emergency services, but who's going to believe me? A sentient metallic being hurting my child? They would take one look at the bruises and they'd have locked me up for abuse. I had no choice but to keep quiet. Weeks, then months passed. Every time we went outside, we noticed ever-increasing signs of Antron's presence. The familiar scratch marks alongside the bricking of my home. Plants had been disturbed, patches of mud leading up to the windows. I feared for my son, taking him to and from school, never letting him out of my sight. What had caused the sudden hostility towards us? Had we done it wrong? Was it my shouting? I found myself speaking out loud in the evenings, apologizing to the walls for an empty room in the hopes Antron would hear, hoping he would stop the taunting, the endless talking of my home. But my attempts were in vain. If I had known that would come, I wouldn't have slept that night. My sleep was once again disturbed, though this time by a blood-curdling scream. My eyes started open, and immediately, almost as a natural instinct, I rushed to my son's room. It was too late. The room had been turned upside down. Everything was on the floor, the bed sheets ripped, and his windows smashed. I burst into tears, screaming at the top of my voice for my son back. I called the police, telling them my son had been kidnapped. They asked if I had seen the culprit. I lied and said I hadn't, hoping the images of my son would be enough. Like they believed that this doll was sentient, harmful. For the next few days, I cried myself to sleep, sobbing like a child. Life wasn't worth living anymore. I wish I had never found that thing. I betrayed my son's trust in me as a father, to protect him, and now I paid a price. It was a September dawn. I sat in my armchair, drinking, when I heard the pantry door creak open. Adam? I called, rushing to the kitchen. Again, nothing. Except there on the kitchen counter, Antron's favorite red toy car. So that's gonna wrap up for today's video. I hope you did enjoy it, and if you did, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe, and make sure to hit the notification bell for a new video dropping soon. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.